There's a certain kind of person in every room. They're quiet. They don't always speak first, but when they do, what they say stops people cold, because somehow they saw it coming. The problem, the pattern, the truth hiding in plain sight. You've met someone like this. Maybe you are someone like this. And the question that never quite goes away is, why do some people see what everyone else misses? The answer isn't genius. It isn't luck. It's psychology. Most people move through the world on autopilot. They take in what's expected, process what's familiar, and filter out the rest. This is actually an evolutionary feature, not a flaw. The brain is designed to save energy by ignoring what it assumes is irrelevant. But some people have a different default setting. Psychologists call this perceptual sensitivity, a heightened attunement to the environment. People with this trait notice inconsistencies before they become problems. They pick up on micro-expressions, shifts in tone, and patterns in data that others scroll right past. Research from the field of cognitive neuroscience suggests that these individuals have a more active default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for imagination, introspection, and connecting unrelated ideas. In plain terms, their mind is always making connections, even when they're not trying. This isn't about IQ. It's about how you pay attention, not how much. Here's something most people don't expect. The people who see what others don't are often the people who sit with discomfort longer. Think about it. When something feels off, most of us look for the fastest explanation that makes the feeling go away. We rationalize, we dismiss, we move on. But the people we're talking about, they stay in the question. Psychologist Jonathan Schooler described this as meta-awareness, the ability to step back from your own thoughts and observe them without immediately reacting. Instead of rushing to a conclusion, these individuals let ambiguity exist. They resist the urge to close the loop prematurely, and that resistance, that's where insight lives. Because the answers to hard problems rarely announce themselves. They emerge, slowly, to the person willing to wait for them. Discomfort, for these people, isn't a signal to stop. It's a signal to look closer. There's a crucial distinction here that's easy to miss. Everyone recognizes patterns. That's not special. What's different about perceptually gifted people is which patterns they trust and which ones they question. Most of us are dominated by confirmation bias. We see what confirms what we already believe. Our brain literally filters out contradicting evidence to protect our existing worldview. But people who see clearly have learned, sometimes painfully, to distrust their first interpretation. They ask, what if I'm wrong? What am I not seeing? What would have to be true for the opposite to be correct? This is called steel manning, the practice of building the strongest possible case against your own position before committing to it. It's not natural. It's a discipline. And the people who practice it consistently are the ones who tend to see around corners because they've already mentally walked through every other direction first. So here's where it gets interesting. Because you'd think someone who sees this clearly, who questions, who resists, who looks deeper, you'd think life would be easier for them. But often, it's the opposite. But let's be honest about something. Seeing what others don't isn't always a gift. Not socially. When you notice something that no one else does, you face a choice. Do you say it, or do you stay quiet? And if you say it too early, too directly, or too often, people stop trusting you. Not because you're wrong, but because being around someone who consistently challenges the group's reality is uncomfortable. Psychologists call this the Cassandra Effect, named after the figure from Greek mythology who was given the gift of prophecy and the curse of never being believed. Many highly perceptive people have learned this lesson the hard way. They develop a kind of internal loneliness, holding insights that feel urgent while watching others move confidently in the wrong direction. The healthiest version of this trait isn't just perception, it's emotional intelligence alongside perception, knowing when to speak, how to frame what you see, and how to bring people with you rather than alienating them. Vision, without communication, is just isolation. Now, the question that probably brought you here, is this something you're born with or something you can build? The research says both, but mostly the second. Studies on perceptual learning show that sustained, deliberate exposure to complex domains physically changes how your brain processes information. Experts in fields like chess, radiology, and investing don't just know more, they see differently because their neural pathways have been rewired by experience, which means perception is trainable. Here's what the evidence actually supports. First, practice unfocused attention. Most of us focus at things. Try simply noticing everything in a room, a conversation, a spreadsheet, without judgment. Let your brain wander across the whole field. Second, expose yourself to diverse thinking. The people who see most clearly are almost always people who've consumed ideas from wildly different domains. Cross-domain thinking is where the most powerful patterns emerge. Third, keep a contradiction journal. Write down things that don't quite fit, moments that felt off, predictions that didn't pan out, assumptions that surprised you. Over time, you'll start to notice your own blind spots. And once you can see your blind spots, you're no longer blind to them. None of this is fast, but all of it is real. And maybe that's the whole point. It was never about being the smartest person in the room. It was always about being the one who kept looking. At the end of the day, the people who see what others don't aren't special because they were born differently. They're different because they chose, quietly, consistently, sometimes painfully, to keep looking when everyone else stopped. They stayed curious when it was easier to be certain. They asked questions when it was safer to agree. They trusted the discomfort instead of running from it. And that's not a superpower. It's a practice, one that's available to anyone willing to start paying a different kind of attention. If this made you think, share it with someone who sees the world a little differently. And if you're watching this alone at 2 a.m. wondering why you never quite fit in with how everyone else thinks, maybe now you know why. See you in the next one.